Let's get paid, y'all. Live dogs in the mix.
What's going on, guys? It is UFC Fight Night 255 or UFC London. Edwards versus Brady. Pretty good, actually pretty epic card. A lot of good fights here, a lot of good spots here. I'm feeling much more confident on this card than I did on the other one, which we did not do very good on, unfortunately. But you can't win them all. If you could, you wouldn't be a predictor, you wouldn't be a capper, you wouldn't be a bettor, you'd be a psychic. And unfortunately, I am not. So let's move on to the next one, and let's kill it this time. I believe we will. So without further ado, let's bust it wide open. The first fight is going to be Guram Kudulaladze versus Conway, or Kuwai, however you say his name, Fernandez. I think Guram will wash him. I do think he's a little bit bigger of a favorite than he should be. He kind of fights like he's got 45 minutes instead of 25 or 15. And I don't like that. But I don't see Fernandez having any danger that he can offer Guram. So I think Guram is a good pick here. Nathan Fletcher versus Colin Loughran. Loughran should have a little bit of a power advantage, but I think that Fletcher can take him down and submit him. Either that or he can take him down. We're going to see a lot of grappling exchanges, especially once we get out of that first couple minutes. And I believe that Nathan Fletcher will win. They have fought once before. It's been quite a while now, but Fletcher did win. And I think Fletcher has improved since then, and he'll win again. Then we have Shauna Bonin versus Punja Tumar, India's own Punja Tumar. This fight is the battle of who sucks more because they both suck a lot. I don't even know if it's even worth watching, to be honest. I thought they both lost their last fight. I think. I don't even remember. I know Punja, in her debut fight, I had Raven, or whatever her name was, I had the other chick, and I thought the other chick smoked her. I don't know how she got that decision. I thought it was a robbery. Shauna Bonin, she's had a lot of close fights too. I think the best bet on this card, well, not the card, but on this fight, is going to be split decision. Fight goes to split decision. I just see it happening. But I'm going to take Shauna Bonin because she has fought better competition. She has been in the cage, even though I believe it was her last amateur fight against Dakota Devachka, or whatever her name is, the chick from PFL who's doing really good right now. Bonin's been in the cage with her, and it was pretty competitive. She actually fought pregnant, so hopefully she won't fight pregnant again in this fight, because then it's not fair, right? It's 2 versus 1. So, but no, yeah, I think Bonin's going to edge her out, and I would look for a split decision on this fight. And then you have Christian Leroy Duncan versus Andre Pulayev. Pulayev is still kind of strikes me as a regional scene dude. I'm not really sure if he's ready for this level, but Christian Leroy Duncan, we'll call him Duncan, he's overrated, man. I think he's going to make this fight closer than it needs to be and get a close decision in his hometown. But at these odds, don't sleep on Andre Pulayev. He can be game in this fight. The odds are way too wide for Duncan, but we will take Duncan. I think he'll do enough to get it done. Then we have Marcin Tybura versus Mick Parkin. This one is really close. I feel like any day of the week, on paper, Tybura is the type of dude who beats Mick Parkin because Mick Parkin is not as well-rounded. Tybura isn't really great anywhere, but, he is a veteran heavyweight. And if you're not ready for that, if Mick Parkin isn't ready for that next stage, he's going to lose this fight. Mick Parkin hasn't shown me anything that tells me he's incredible, that tells me he's got really a lot of finishing power in this division. So I do think Mick Parkin will be the better striker. I do think he'll be hard to hold on to. So if Tybura comes in with a linear game plan of just striking or just wrestling, I do think he will lose, especially in Parkin's hometown. But I think that Tybura is going to be a little more motivated. He looked pretty good against Denise, who's a dangerous striker. Probably not as good a striker as Parkin, but probably more dangerous. And yet he was able to neutralize him. And I believe he can do that again to Parkin, but I think it will be a little harder. I'm tentative, but I'm going to go with Tybura. And then we have Loner Kavanaugh. Loner Kavanaugh versus Felipe Dos Santos. Felipe Dos Santos, he's kind of a journeyman at this point, but he's too young to be called that, right? I think he's actually a blooming prospect. I do think we have not seen the best of Felipe Dos Santos, but he's being quickly written off because of the tough matches that he's had in the octagon. And Kavanaugh is a guy that's still growing himself. We haven't seen a lot about. Kavanaugh is a pretty big favorite here, not just in the odds, but with anyone I've spoken to. And I think that is a good pick. I am going to take Kavanaugh, but I want to tell you guys, Just like I told you about the Vera and Musasa fight. I told y'all Musasa sucked, and Vera could very well submit him. I had a parlay on Vera and Priscilla Cachoeira, and that cashed. So that's the only good thing I did on that card. That being said, I did not pick Vera. I passed it up. I didn't have the balls to make it an official pick, but I did put a behind the scenes play. And now I think I'm probably going to do that again, guys, because I do think that a submission, or even for some reason, I don't know if I'm dreaming or what, I feel like a knockout or submission for Dos Santos could come. This seems like the kind of fight that's going to test Kavanaugh, and he may get fraud checked. But from what I've seen and on paper, and the guy's got great movement, he's almost got like just a touch of Peter Yan and a touch of Joshua Van, the Yan and the Van, right? But not quite on that level. So, but I can see him getting there with his movement. I like his footwork. I like his striking. Overall, he's probably going to win here, but look into that Dos Santos prop and do not write the guy off. I probably will play a hedge and put a small finish prop for Dos Santos, just because sometimes I'm just going off gut and I just feel it. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of all the crazy underdogs that won on the last card and it's still stuck here, so I feel like it's happening again. I don't know. Anyways, then we have Chris Padilla versus Jai Herbert. Chris Padilla is going to be my live dog of the card. He has been a live dog in the past for me before. Who was that against? Rong Zhu, when he beat Rong Zhu. And we see Rong Zhu is ever improving and really good. So that's an awesome win. I think that Chris Padilla is just a tad bit more well-rounded, a tad bit more hungry, will put the pressure on an aging guy like Jai Herbert. And I think that Chris Padilla is a little more dangerous. He can wrestle if he wants. He can really do it all. And I feel like he gets a finish here. I think Jai Herbert is going to be probably knocked out. So I will go with Padilla. And that's going to be our live dog of the card. And then we have Nathaniel Wood versus Morgan Charrier. At first I saw this, I instantly went Morgan Charrier. But I do think that Nathaniel Wood is actually really live in this fight and can win this fight. I'm going to still go with Morgan Charrier, though, because I feel like Nathaniel Wood hasn't really he hasn't improved at a pace that I'd like to see him. He's been in the UFC for quite a while now. If they fought a few years ago, I might not pick Charrier. I think it's a close fight, but I really am going to lean Morgan Charrier here. I think he'll just do enough to get it done and could even get a finish. I need to see Nathaniel Wood win this fight before I get back on the train. He was fouled a lot in his last loss, against Naimov. That was kind of a bullshit fight, but I had Naimov, and I had him as a dog. So at the end of the day, it didn't upset me, but looking back, yeah, I should have been a little pissed about that. And Nathaniel Wood should be too, and he needs to come out and fight like it. And if he does, he wins here. But I'm just not convinced, so I am going to take Charrier. Then we have Jordan Vucinic versus Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan was an underdog. He's like a plus 300 underdog or so. That was the underdog I was looking at originally, because he did cash for me as an underdog again in the Balaji Oki fight, which I saw that coming a mile away. The problem is I don't think he's going to be as dangerous against Vucinic. I think Duncan is live, and I will probably place a small bet on him because I do like him in this fight, and I do think the odds are BS. And I haven't seen a whole lot of Vucinic, but going back and doing a little study on his resume, he's been in there with Paul Hughes, who's doing really well over in the PFL. He's been in there with Morgan Charrier. So he's much better than just some new guy on the UFC scene. And I think he can probably get Duncan here. I may flip on this, but I think it's the best choice, and I'm going to go with Jordan Vucinic. Think maybe I'm giving Chris Duncan more credit than he deserves, but he's been looking really good too. Watching his training footage, I think he's a guy that is keeping his improvement up, keeping his activity up, and I think that we have not seen the best of Chris Duncan, guys. He's like a more dangerous, slightly better Ross Pearson, if you guys remember him. He's a guy that can win and lose on any night, but he might be on that upward trajectory. So I do think he's live at plus 300 here, but yeah, Vucinic for sure. Just because I think he's been in there with enough competition. I think he's got enough submissions on his record. He has the actual exact submissions that we've seen Duncan lose to, and he was pretty live and pretty game against Gurum Kutateladze. So let's see how Chris Duncan gets out of this one. And if he gets out of this one, I want to start seeing him a favorite in fights coming in the future. But yeah, I will take the Sinchik. Molly McCann versus Alexia Thayanara. I hate Molly McCann. She is a can. We call her Molly the Can here, and I think she will be proven to be that again. I do think she loses this fight. I would have picked her against Estela Nunez just because Estela Nunez is about equally as bad. But this Alexia Thayanara has a pretty well-rounded skill set, and she seems a lot more dangerous than some of the girls that Molly McCann has fought. I think Alexia Thayanara is live for submission or a KO here, or just a straight-up battering. I think Molly the Can loses. I don't want to bet a lot of money on a female fight, on a Thayanara who I haven't seen rising up on the scene, who I'm really just kind of learning about for the first time. But if I'm running out of spaces and I got a little more, I want to throw it somewhere, I would put my money on Thayanara. I think she's probably has the better chance of beating Molly the Can than a lot of chicks have. So this girl looks like she's going to be all right, y'all. And I think this is a great step and a great introduction to her. I think Molly the Can goes in the shitter. Okay. Then we got Gunnar Nelson versus Kevin Holland. This one's really rough because both these guys kind of seem like they're really on the back end of their career. I don't know if it's the age or the decisions or, both or whatever, whoever's doing what. But Kevin Holland has not looked great. He's always kind of been a 50-50 fighter. I don't think he's mentally there. And I also do think Gunnar Nelson is a guy who's kind of checked out. The guy fights like once every 2 years, doesn't really want to travel much, physically looks worse almost every time you see him. I had high hopes for Gunnar Nelson. I really thought he was this jiu-jitsu whiz, but he got exposed. Who was that? Legend, absolute legend. Who was that? Man, I can't believe Damian Maia. Yeah, I actually thought Gunnar Nelson might beat him because I was really overrating a lot of his opponents, I think. But Gunnar Nelson has not panned out. He's not going to be any better than he is now, unfortunately. And Kevin Holland at 170, personally, I think he's better there. I think he can carry his power there, and I think he can wrestle and use his strength against guys at 170. And we know that he can strike pretty well, much better than Gunnar Nelson. I hate to say it, but I'm gonna one more time go with Kevin Holland as an underdog. I think he's at like plus 120, plus 100 or something like that now. So I don't know if I'd bet it, but if you're making me pick, I flopped on it a few times, but I'm going to take Kevin Holland tentatively, and we'll see how that looks by Thursday if I end up making a bet or not. But, Gunnar Nelson by submission is always a good prop if you're not really sure and you want to bet this fight and you're more of a prop guy. I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be Kevin Holland by KO late, or it's going to be Gunnar Nelson by submission early. But for the sake of picks, we will go with Kevin Holland. And then we've got John Blachowicz versus Carlos Ulberg. Carlos Ulberg has not impressed me. His striking is good, but I don't think he's going to take a punch very well. I think that if you can pressure him and you know how to cut the cage off well, you can give him trouble. I don't believe that in the third round he'll have the best cardio. His takedown defense is not very good. People are high on him because the UFC's told you to be high on him, and I get it. He's a good striker, good-looking guy, got good footwork. I just don't see it here, man. Unless Blachowicz comes out and looks like an old man, because he is 42, and that can very well happen. For the people that have watched this sport for more than 5 years, more than 10 years, guys just look great and then they're gone. And yes, Jan has had some losses recently, but, they weren't that bad. In fact, let's just go over them real quick because, a lot of people are saying, he had the draw with Ankalaev. Well, Ankalaev's the champion, and Ankalaev should have won that fight, but who cares? The fact that he made it that close, and that was, 2 years ago. You can't tell me he's old now. He lost to Alex Pereira. He arguably won that fight. And exactly what he did to Alex Pereira, he can do to Carlos Ulberg and better. And I think that is what we really want to be looking at. Glover Teixeira, Glover was on fire at that time, and then he had the win over Rakic, but Rakic was injured. But I thought that Jan was on his way to winning that fight. But let's just look at it on paper. You made it very close with the champion. You made it very close with the other champion, Alex Pereira. You got a win over Rakic, who's been in that mix. And, you beat Israel Adesanya. So he's beaten the best, man. Carlos Ulberg hasn't beat anyone. I actually picked Volkan to beat him. I ended up flipping before I made my official picks, but I really liked Volkan in that spot. And it was closer than it needed to be. Carlos Ulberg might be like Imavov for me. Nasruddin Imavov was a guy I faded a lot. I could not ever seem to pick the guy, and he just kept winning. And then I decided, after watching enough, after seeing him destroy enough of my tickets, hey, this guy has something. And I really went and looked at what it was, and I figured it out. And so now we're really high on Imavov, but we never were to begin with. Maybe this is going to be a Carlos Ulberg spot. Maybe I'm really underrating this guy. And maybe this is the perfect time for him to fight a guy like Jan Blachowicz, who is on the backside of his career, who, if he doesn't show his age in this fight, he'll show it in the next one or the one after, guaranteed, because we know it's coming. Like they say, Father Time is undefeated. But nothing in Blachowicz's game has shown me that yet. Maybe he's a little slower now, but his wrestling's gotten better. I think he wins, man. It's a 3-round fight though, and he tends to do better in 5 rounds, in my opinion. Carlos Ulberg's going to be dancing around using that footwork, and that does worry me. So I'm not super confident, but at these odds, man, I think he's like plus 200, plus 235. I'm taking Jan Blachowicz, a former champion, to beat Carlos Ulberg. And the UFC is going to hate that, right? Because, they want to push another guy up to the front. What, they can do Magomed and Blachowicz again? Honestly, if he wins this fight, I don't see why not. But I don't think Dana's going to like that, right? But yeah, we'll see what it is, man. But yeah, I'm going to take Blachowicz, is what it is. And then we have the main event. The main event is going to be Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you, I'm not really confident on either one of these guys. I have put a bet on each one. I am hedging this bet. I am hedging my parlays because I don't know what Edwards is going to show up. If Leon Edwards shows up in that championship mindset, coming off a loss, knowing, hey, I'm going to get this back, he's got more finishing ability, I think, because people underestimate Leon Edwards' improvements on his ground game. He was able to reverse and get Usman down. He was able to reverse Usman, and then we saw Bilal go out there and just take him down and dominate him. But is Brady Bilal? I don't think he quite is. I was really high on Brady, but looking back and examining what he's done, he hasn't beat anyone. He just hasn't beat anyone. And I picked Kelvin Gastelum to beat him because, I was the loss to Bilal was stuck in my head. And Kevin Gastelum, when he shows up, he's a world beater in his own right. Really. When he's on, he's a really good fighter. He takes you to the brink. But Brady came back on fire. Does he stay, though? I don't know. So that's why it's so tough for me. As I'm sitting here talking to myself, listening to myself, and talking to you guys, I'm thinking, damn, I think I'm taking Edwards. I think that Edwards has more finishing ability. He's never been submitted. I don't like Brady late. I think if the fight goes late, that Brady will wilt a bit in those championship rounds, and that Leon actually gets better in those rounds because I think he finally decides to do something. And I think Brady's the kind of guy that he can finish late. That being said, Brady can come out, put the pressure, put Leon on the cage, discourage him, pepper him with strikes, keep him on the ground for the majority of the fight, working for submissions, and maybe pull out a close decision or even get one of those submissions. And I think that's kind of where we're at, right? It's hard. Like I said, I've kind of went with both. I'm going to go with Sean Brady. Because even though I do think that Leon Edwards has more weapons, he's not finishing a lot of people. And he's able to win these close decisions, or these dominant decisions even, by keeping his distance, keeping his range, using his footwork, and landing those strikes, especially strikes at distance and things like that. And he can usually keep it on the feet. But after a while, Brady will begin to get him down. And if he gets him down early in the first, second, third round, he's going to probably be able to keep him there. I feel like Leon is a good pick based on, everything he's done and who he's fought and what weapons he has. But at the end of the day, how is he going to use those? You know, he's not. I just don't see him knocking Brady out. He's not really a KO guy. And if you can't finish Brady on the feet, you're damn sure not going to finish him on the ground. And you don't want to be in the ground, but his chances of getting you there grow. And I believe that he can. I think it's going to be kind of a boring fight, but I will tentatively take Sean Brady. I think that Leon will look like he looked in the Bilal fight, but you know, I don't think it's going to be as much wrestling and pressure. It's going to be a lot of getting the takedown or holding along the fence and kind of working him from there. Because, you know, outside of a KO, I don't see him winning. And I feel like he has that potential, but I can't bank on it because I haven't seen it. And Brady seems more hungry at this stage of the game. I will take Sean Brady. So those are my picks, guys. Quick little rundown. I don't like Guram in a parlay. I think he's rated too high here. Wouldn't do it. I think Nathan Fletcher, it's close odds. Nathan Fletcher should win. I like that. If you're feeling frisky, go for that prop. Go for that submission prop. Could be there. I think the best bet for the Sean Abonin and Tumar fight is if you want to bet a lot, you go over, of course. But I believe a split decision is good. Sean Abonin by split decision is probably what I would go with. Leroy Duncan and Andrei Pulayev, I think that's probably going to go to a decision, or you'll see a late finish by Duncan. But I'm not that high on Duncan at those odds either. I like Marcin Tybura. The odds are close, but I would parlay him. But, you know, he's also an old dog. We got a rising guy. You know, maybe you don't feel safe doing that. I understand. Lonar Kavanaugh, I think he's worth a parlay, but you know, that's going to be risky because I do have a feeling that this could be where we see another fraud check. So, you know, cautiously check that out. Padilla, he will flip to a favorite. I see it coming, and I think he wins. I like a KO prop on a Padilla, and I like him in a parlay. Nathaniel Wood and Morgan Charrier, I wouldn't parlay either one of these guys. I think this fight is a lot closer than people are making it out to be, but I am going to lean over Morgan. Duncan, I think, is still alive for a KO. Oddly enough, I do see him having those chances, but I think Vasinchik is going to win, probably by a submission in the second or third, or he'll get the decision. Molly McCann, I like Alexia Thayanora inside the distance, however you want to play that. Gunnar Nelson and Kevin Holland, who knows, man. Blachowicz and Olberg, I think Blachowicz is a tentative pick here, but, you know, I tell you, I think this one goes over. I think this one definitely goes over, and that's over 2.5. I think that's a lock for sure. I just don't see it unless Blachowicz is completely done, right? But yeah, I think over's great on that. Over's probably going to be good on the main event between Edwards and Brady as well. Submission by Brady is probably a decent prop. You could do a KO by Edwards if you're high on Edwards. So yeah, we'll get all that stuff out for you like I always do, either tonight or tomorrow. The props, some parlays I'm playing, and hopefully we'll get back on track. We had 7 in a row on our locks. We were 7-1. Now we are 7-2. We lost our Kurt Hollaball fight. Kurt Hollaball was my live dog of the card. We had so many underdogs that won. I feel like I let y'all down. I did drop the ball on that because there were so many better choices. But Hollaball, he cashed as a dog for me a couple times before. So I was kind of, you know, linear in my approach. It was close, though. He arguably could have won. So we dropped it. We're 7-2 now. We need to make the comeback here and get back on that 7 in a row. And I believe we can do it. We've done it before. So, you know, it's only up from here. High confidence on this card. I really know most of these fighters well, with the exception of a couple. And, you know, the main event is a little dicey. And, you know, the couple of the women's fight on here. But, yeah. I have a lot of good bets and plays. I'm going to put out probably more than usual on this. So y'all stick with me to the end. We're going to keep riding together. We're going to get it done. I appreciate the love, appreciate the hate, appreciate the discourse. Let me know who you have down below. And until I see you next time, let's get paid.
Live dogs in the